just started the video a second ago, and I said one of the most stupidest things I ever said, and I can't even repeat it because it was so bad. But on that note, welcome to Modern Life for the 70s Mind. I got to create like some outtakes video. Oh my gosh, that was bad. But anyways, I hope you guys are all doing well. That's really the most important thing. A number of videos ago, I had spoken about the album Heart magazine, how it had kind of a story behind it. I don't know if everyone knows that or not, but to me it was always really interesting, and I had mentioned I wanted to make a video about that album and kind of go over everything that happened with it, just a kind of a mind dump for me so I can stop thinking about it. So I thought I would do that. So I'm probably going to tell you way more than you want to know about this album, but it's really kind of interesting, and I'm even going to compare songs for you so you can get an idea what I'm talking about. That'll all make sense in just a few minutes. So let me get my headphones on because I will have to listen to certain things, and we'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm back. So before I even start this, I'm going to have to turn the video on and off and on and off and pause. So there's a really, really, really high probability that I'm going to make a mistake on this video. So bear with me as I suffer through this. I'm just not really good at this, and I really haven't practiced this at all. So we're just going to go with it. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm doing here. Back in the day, I spent a lot of time at Tower Records. I assume you've heard of Tower Records. They were a really big record chain. I mean, I spent hours flipping through the records, and let's face it, after all, the records at that time were awesome. Because I spent so much time there, I got to know the people who worked there actually quite well. And it just so happened by chance on April 19th, 1977, I know that exact date because I've looked it up online, Heart released their magazine album, which was the follow-up to Dreamboat Annie. The guy behind the counter said, "Hey, Bob, I only got a couple albums of this. It just got released today. Do you want to buy a copy?" I was like, yes, because I kind of got like in the ground floor of this album. So that is how I got that album. So let's backtrack just a little bit. The album was set to be released by Mushroom Records. Unfortunately, and that's how this whole thing started, Mushroom ran an advertising campaign, and I'll turn this on as I explain it. Mushroom ran an advertising campaign showing a bare-shouldered Anne and Nancy, and this campaign was to celebrate the success they had on Dreamboat Annie, hoping it would carry over, obviously, to magazine. Unfortunately, the words underneath it is what really got this whole thing going. It says, "Hearts Wilson sisters confess it was only our first time." So looking at this, it almost looks like these are two girls that have no clothes on talking about their first time. Needless to say, Anne and Nancy, can I say it, were pissed. And they were I think they had recorded like 5 songs off their magazine album and stopped recording. They wanted nothing to do with Mushroom Records. At that point, they started renegotiating stuff that it just didn't go well, and they never reached an agreement. So Mushroom Records felt like they had a 2-record or 2-album deal with Heart, and they felt like they had a right to release what had already been recorded. So they took what they had, and they added a couple, I think, 1975 live tracks, and a B-side from the song How Deep It Goes, which was off of Dreamboat Annie. The song was called Here's Song. So they basically threw an album together, and the clips that they had recorded already weren't really complete, but they were full songs. So they then took and produced about 50,000 albums or copies of magazine, which I have one. Of those, only a limited, of that 50,000, only a limited were sold before the album was ultimately recalled because of a Seattle court. But like I said, not before I got my hands on one. I'm lucky I got one because most were sold in Los Angeles and Hollywood, Florida, because that's where the albums were manufactured. How I got one in Chicago, I have no clue. I'm guessing Tower Records had some connections and they must have got one that way. And only by the mere fact that I knew some people at the store did I even get a copy of this. Mushroom Records did address this dispute on the back of the album. So let me move over to that. And I'll read this to you in case you can't read it. It says Mushroom. This is at the, if you flip the back of the album, and at the very bottom, you'll find this. It says Mushroom Records regrets that a contractual dispute has made it necessary to complete this record without the cooperation or endorsement of the group Heart, who have expressly disclaimed artistic involvement in completing this record. We did not feel, this is the good part, we did not feel that a contractual dispute should prevent the public from hearing and enjoying these incredible tunes and recordings. So they're doing it just because of the love of the music. Right. That is one of the most interesting things I think I've ever seen on an album. I'm lucky I got my hands on one, though, and I feel really fortunate. That's how you can tell, by this statement, how you can tell if you have a newer version, which was a 1978, or the older version, which was this one, which was a 1977. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I have a bottle of water here, and all of a sudden I realized there was water starting to drip down my desk and was ready to drop onto my keyboard. And it must have had a small little hole in it or something. I had dropped it, but I didn't think I did anything to it, but I guess I did. So, all right, so let me advance this so we can at least get back on track here. I told you there was going to be problems. So even though the band, I'm sorry if I repeat myself, even though the band was successful in getting the album pulled, which I got a copy, did I mention that? They still had obligations under the 2-album contract with Mushroom Records. Heart, I don't know if they were just holding a grudge or whatever, but they weren't satisfied with the quality of the album that Mushroom had put out. So they went back to the studio a year later in 1978 and reworked it. They re-recorded parts, they remixed parts, they edited songs, and even resequenced the album, which I'll show you. Maybe I'll show you that now. I think I got it on here. Yeah, so here's the album order. The original release is the 1977 release, and the second is the 1978. So you can see they kind of moved songs around a little bit. Nothing significant. The only real significant change at all is that on the 1978 version, you see Mother Earth Blues. But on the original release, it's Mother Earth and You Shook Me, Babe. So they kind of took a little bit out of it. So that's pretty much that. Let me stop it. Okay. There were a couple of songs that I really liked a lot. The 1977 version of over the 1978. One is the song Heartless, which I assume most of you know. And the chorus is definitely different. So what I'm going to do, with the magic of my video, I'm going to play little sections of each so you can see what the difference is. So let's get into that. So this is Heartless. You're first going to hear the 1977 version, and then you can hear the same part of the song, but the 1978, so you can hear the difference. Here we go. You can hear how she sings the same pitch each time. All right, so that's the 77. Now this is the 78. It just ain't fair. Heartless, heartless. Never out of the sound isn't as good. Heartless, heartless. So I just didn't like the newer version of it. I like the first one so much more. The quality of the recording isn't as good, but only because the copy of the older version that I have, I should really record it, but I just haven't. So that's Heartless. So that needless to say, I like the 77 version more. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. For another example, there was another song called Just the Wine. I love this song because it had such a really cool, like, dreamy sound to it, and it just kind of took me away. Kind of like Dreamboat Annie did. You know, Dreamboat Annie had that kind of flowing, dreamy sound. So did this song. So, again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to play the 77 version, then I'll play the 78. Here we go. You hear the background vocals. The orchestra is pretty strong. Really dreamy. Okay, I just think they butchered it in 78. Here's the next version of it. There's no background vocals. It's not dreamy at all, really. I like Anne's vocals just as much, even though they're a little different. And in 78, they also, you can hear just at the very end, they introduced a flute, which wasn't in the 77 version. So those two versions, in my mind, are completely different because you want to listen to the chorus, and the chorus was just so much different. And this last one is just wrong. I'm going to bitch about this one. It's a live cut of "You Shook Me, Babe" by Zeppelin. If you're a Led Zeppelin fan, you know the song "You Shook Me, Babe." The original was so much more in line with Zeppelin's version than the second. So let's play that. And I think this is just, it was a crime that they did this. So just real quick, Anne likes to scream and bellow out some sound. So that's what she does in this first version. Very Zeppelin-like. So if you've heard the Zeppelin version, that's kind of in line the way Zeppelin sang it, right? All right, so here's what happened in 78. Big mistake. What? They totally cut it out. They cut... They cut out the best part of the song. Like the climax of the song, they cut out. So I will never forgive them for that. Same song, same cut, but they just cut out that whole piece, which was just, I'm sorry, that was just a crime. So anyways, there were other smaller, more insignificant differences in the songs, which there's no need for me to go over because they're so little. You'd be saying, why are you wasting my time? So, all right, listen, that was a lot. Take that all in. Take a breath. I'm going to get my headphones off, and I'll be back to my final thoughts. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so that is not going to go down in history as my smoothest produced or smoothest recorded video here on YouTube. You know what? I really wanted to play the songs for you as well, because if I just sat there and told you, hey, in this song she changed a different pitch, you'd be like yawning through it, and you'd be like, what the heck am I wasting my time listening to this? So I really wanted to have you actually hear it yourself, and I hope that was a little more interesting. Now, just for the record, I probably sounded like I was really slamming the 1978 version of this album. In all honesty, I just don't like it as much. It's still a great album from a great band and contains a lot of great songs. It just has a couple little parts that I showed you that I just like the 77 more. I can tell you that if you can get your hands on a copy of the 1977 record, get it. I have seen them on eBay every once in a while. The people who have them and know about it will tell you it's the original 1977. If not, and it looks like, you know, you can't tell from the front because both of the front album covers look exactly the same. But if they do show a back and it's got that dispute wording on it, make sure you get it, because maybe the person doesn't even realize that they got kind of a rare album. A little fun fact, because, you know, as always, I like fun facts here on Modern Life of the 70s Mind. The follow-up album, which was Little Queen, was released also in 1977, while the official, if you will, version of Magazine was released in 1978. So even though the vast majority of Magazine was recorded before Little Queen, it was actually officially released after. I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but unless you knew the history of Magazine, and if you hadn't watched this video, you might not have known that fact. I'm not sure why this album intrigues me as much as it does, but it really does. I'm thinking maybe because I just enjoy the earlier versions so much more, and that I really enjoy having a copy of this album. On a sad note, because every video needs a sad note, Mushroom Records did go out of business in the early 80s, so I'm sure the Wilson sisters were high-fiving each other over that, because they didn't like them too much, from what I can tell. The only other information that I have is that the album peaked at number 17 in the United States and number 13 in Canada, and that in both locations the album did go platinum. So that is my complete mind dump on Heart Magazine. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I've known a lot of this information. I researched a little bit extra, but most of it I already knew, and I just wanted to kind of spell it all out in a video, so I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, guys, listen, only life is priceless. Make each day count. I appreciate you listening. Peace out, and I'll talk to you next time, okay? Bye-bye.